Hello, everyone. Tonight, we begin with a question about how a dazzling city, Atlantis, could vanish beneath the waves, leaving only whispers in ancient scrolls. Could you uncover its secrets? You're standing on the deck of a Bronze Age ship, its cedar planks creaking under your sandals. The Mediterranean stretching around you like a turquoise mirror shimmering under a starlit sky. The air's warm, heavy with salt, and a faint bloom of jasmine, and the linen sail flaps gently tugging you toward a horizon veiled in mist. Let's be honest, you might not stay awake for this mythic voyage, but the Atlanteans sailed seas that would make your heart race. Before you snuggle into your blanket, hit like on the video and comment where you're watching from and what time it is there. It's so fun to know who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're swaying with the ship, its bronze fittings glinting under the moon, the waves whispering tales of a lost world. The story of Atlantis, first told by Plato around 360 BCE, describes a grand island city, rich with temples and canals sunk by divine wrath in a single night. Mainstream history debates whether it was real, perhaps Minoan Crete or Santorini, shattered by a volcanic eruption around 1600 BCE, or a philosopher's fable. You tilt your head back stars, like Orion sprawling above their patterns, a map for sailors who dared the open sea. The Atlanteans, if they existed, navigated these waters, their minds holding charts no clay tablet could capture. Imagine losing your way out here, daunting, isn't it? Here's the quirky tidbit. Some tales claim Atlantean sailors felt the sea's currents through their feet, standing barefoot on their ship's decks. Picture Nikos, a young scribe with ink-stained fingers, trying it. Now his clay tablet tucked under his arm, eyes half closed as he sways. The waves hum, he murmurs almost to himself. Historians still argue whether this was skill or superstition. Could you really sense a path to Crete? Yet myths say they sailed vast seas, so maybe Nikos' feet knew more than our doubts. You're gripping the ship's rail, the cedar's warm grain grounding you. Plato's Atlantis was a marvel. Golden statues, concentric canals, a palace gleaming like dawn. You imagine its navigators, like Thalia, a priestess with a bronze amulet, her hum a temple hymn as she adjusts the tiller. Her calm steadies Nikos, who's scribbling notes, his tablet scratched with star shapes. The gods guide us, she says, her voice like the sea's breath. You try feeling the waves yourself barefoot. Like Nikos, but it's a riddle wrapped in foam. Picture holding Thalia's amulet. How does its cool weight feel? Cleon, an elder philosopher, leans on his olive wood staff watching Nikos with a wry smile. The sea's a teacher boy, but a stern one, he says, his tone half jest. The ship surges its sail, catching a breeze, and you notice the crew's quiet focus. No shouts, just murmurs like a temple rite. Navigation wasn't just skill, it was trust in stars, sea, and stories. You think of your own journeys, maybe a winding path home, guided by instinct. The crew's pointing at a low star, maybe Sirius, guiding you west. Nikos hesitates, then points to, earning Thalia's nod. Good, she says, her amulet glinting. You're starting to feel their world, not just a ship, but a quest, chasing a city lost to time. The stars shine brighter, the seas hum deeper, and you settle back, the ship rocking like a cradle, ready to sail into Atlantis' myth. One whisper at a time. You're still swaying on that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves lapping at the cedar hulls, their rhythm a gentle pulse beneath your sandals. The air's warm, scented with salt, and a faint whisper of distant olive groves. And the stars above glitter like scattered pearls, casting faint reflections on the sea's turquoise surface. The sail linen and salt-stiff flaps, lazily tugging you deeper into the misty horizon where Atlantis might lie hidden. You're not just drifting, you're chasing the same unseen currents. Atlantean sailors might have read their minds, a living map of the sea's secrets. Can you feel the ocean's whispers guiding you? Mainstream history suggests that if Atlantis existed, it could be linked to the Minoan civilization on Crete, devastated by the Santorini eruption around 1600 BCE, which sent tsunamis across the Mediterranean. You're picturing Thalia now, the priestess from before her bronze amulet glinting as she kneels, fingers trailing the water to sense its flow. Their maps weren't etched on clay, they were memorized, a dance of currents and winds passed through generations. You try it, lean over the rail. Let the sea's rhythm hum through your palms. Every wave has a voice. Long rolling swells from the west might mean open water. Short choppy ones could signal an island's shadow bending the tide. It's as if the sea's murmuring a path, but only to those who listen. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some myths claim Atlantean sailors could taste the sea's salt to judge their distance from land. Fresher water meant rivers nearby. Nikos is trying it now, dipping a finger and licking it, his ink-stained hands trembling as he grimaces. It's bitter, he mutters, earning a chuckle from Cleon, his olive wood staff tapping the deck. Historians still argue whether this was practical or fanciful. Could you really taste your way to an atoll? Yet stories say they found distant shores, so maybe Nikos' tongue holds a grain of truth. You're rocking with the ship, the waves' cadence blending with Thalia's soft hum, a hymn to Poseidon that calms the crew. The sea's a scroll. She tells Nikos her amulet swaying, read it with care. Vikings read waves too, you recall. But this feels older, steeped in a mythic haze. Atlanteans, if real, studied winds, named like temple gods, each with a mood. A steady west breeze was their road to Crete. A sudden shift might mean land's cliffs stirring the air. You sniff the breeze, hoping for jasmine or earth, but it's just salt and hope. Picture cupping the sea's water. How does its cool touch feel? Cleon's watching you, his philosopher's eyes glinting. The sea tests the bold, he says, half joking, but you feel the weight of his words. The crew's murmurs weave with the waves, Nikos scribbling on his clay tablet, sketching a wave's curve. Thalia points to a ripple sharper than before and says, "That's an island's echo." You try sensing it, but it's like chasing a dream's edge. They watched for sea signs too. Kelp strands, a dolphin's arc. Spot a floating reed, lands upwind, perhaps a day off. You're starting to see the sea as they did not empty, but alive, every ripple a clue. Astrid's nervous pendant fidgeting comes to mind, but Nikos's ink-smudged focus feels different, urgent, as if he's writing Atlantis' last saga. Suddenly a shadow darts beneath the waves, a school of fish, their flashes like silver coins. The crew stirs, Thalia's hum rising, and Nikos gasps, nearly dropping his tablet. A sign, he says, and Cleon nods, his staff steady. The sea speaks, he says, but don't shout back. You chuckle, imagining a poet's jest. Lose the wave's song, and you'll dine with the eels. The ship surges. Thalia's hand on the tiller, firm her amulet, a beacon in the starlight. You settle back, the sea's hum, wrapping you, trusting these ancient sailors. Thalia's wisdom, Nikos' zeal to guide you closer to Atlantis' lost shores, one current at a time. You're still gliding on that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves caressing the cedar hulls, their soft slaps a lullaby beneath your sandals. The air is warm, laced with salt, and the faint perfume of distant myrtle while the stars above shimmer like polished bronze, their light dancing on the sea's turquoise veil. You're standing near the prow, its carved lotus gleaming, and you feel the ship's pulse steady alive, as if it knows the way to Atlantis' fabled shores. This vessel, with its intricate rigging and polished planks, is no mere boat. It's a marvel built to chase myths across an untamed sea. You're about to marvel at the craftsmanship that might have carried Atlanteans to glory or to their doom. Can you sense the ship's ancient strength? Mainstream history points to the Minoans thriving around 2000 BCE as a possible Atlantis, their ships sleek oar-driven galleys, mastering trade from Crete to Egypt. You're tracing the prow's lotusa, its curves smooth under your fingers. Imagining Atlantean shipwrights if they existed, crafting vessels with cedar from Lebanon. Thalia's at the tiller, her bronze amulet swaying her hum, a temple hymn as she steers with a steady hand. "This ship's our heart," she says, voice soft but firm. You're awestruck, picturing the labor men carving planks, women weaving linen sails, children hauling pitch. You chuckle, thinking a Brit might call it a sea palace, but out here, it's survival. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some tales claim Atlantean ships had oracle boards, planks etched with symbols to appease Poseidon's wrath. Nikos is pointing at one now, a faint spiral near the mast, his ink-stained fingers trembling as he whispers, "It guards us." Historians still argue whether these were sacred or superstitious. Did symbols calm the sea? But you're not doubting sailors who crossed oceans, so maybe Nikos' spiral holds a flicker of truth. You're swaying with the ship, its shallow draft, letting it skim reefs where heavier vessels would shatter. Building one was a ritual. Villages gathered chanting hymns as cedar was shaped into holes that danced with waves. Cleon, leaning on his olive wood staff, tells Nikos, "A ship's soul is its maker's prayer. You try lifting an oar, its weight like a warrior's spear, and imagine weeks at sea, arms burning." The crewman Damon, with a sunburnt grin, laughs row like that, and will reach Hades first. His jest stings, but you smile, picturing your own clumsy efforts at a craft. The waves grow choppy, testing the ship's metal, and you grip the rail, feeling the planks flex, but hold their bronze fittings glinting. Thalia is unfazed, her hum rising, guiding the crew to tighten ropes. Nikos, clutching his clay tablet, helps Damon secure a wicker basket of olives, his nerves easing into focus. You're impressed, but also a bit unsteady. Nobody's bailing water yet, right? Picture the sail's coarse linen in your hands. How does its weave feel? The ship surges its prow, cutting waves like a poet's quill, and you feel its power, a testament to hands that might have built Atlantis' fleet. Suddenly, a tremor ripples through the sea, faint but sharp, as if the earth itself stirs. The crew pauses Thalia's amulet, still her eyes scanning the horizon. Poseidon's restless, she murmurs half-joking, but the moment lingers a whisper of the cataclysm that sank Atlantis in Plato's tale. You think back to Thalia's wave reading, how she paired it with this ship's grace. Stars above, cedar below, and you in the middle, trusting both. Cleon's chanting now, a hymn of a ship that outran a flood, his voice weaving courage. "Sing it," he urges, and you hum your voice, a shy echo. The port's scent strengthens the sea, steadying, and you settle back the ship, a bridge to a lost world, carrying you closer to Atlantis' truth. You're still gliding on that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves whispering beneath the cedar hulls, their rhythm a soft echo in the warm, jasmine-scented air. The stars above blaze like molten bronze, each constellation a beacon in the velvet night. and you're leaning against the rail, the ship's lotus-carved prow glinting under their light. The sail flaps gently, urging you toward the misty horizon where Atlantis's secrets might lie. These Atlantean sailors, if they were real, didn't just sail. They read the sky like a sacred scroll, every star a verse guiding them to unseen shores. You're about to unravel their celestial wisdom, decoding a starlit compass that held steady unless clouds veiled the heavens. Can you trace the stars' ancient paths? Mainstream history suggests that if Atlantis existed, its sailors, possibly Minoans by 2000 BCE, used star navigation akin to early Greek mariners, steering by constellations to reach Cyprus or Egypt. You're gazing upward now, spotting Orion's belt, its 3 stars, a bold line pointing west. Atlantean navigators, in Plato's tale, knew Orion marked a path to distant isles, their minds charting its rise and fall. You try picturing the horizon as a bronze tablet stars like Sirius or the Pleiades ticking across it. It's a cosmic dance, but miss a step, and you're adrift in a sea that spares no one. Picture losing those stars. How vast does the night feel? Here's the quirky tidbit. Some myths claim Atlanteans used sky stones, polished quartz, that glowed faintly under certain stars to confirm their course. Nikos is clutching one now, his ink-stained fingers trembling, his clay tablet forgotten as he holds it to the sky, whispering, "It sees the god's light." Historians still argue whether this was science or ritual. Could a stone really guide a ship? Yet tales say they sailed unerring routes. So maybe Nikos' quartz holds a spark of truth. You're swaying with the ship, the sea's hum blending with Thalia's temple hymn, her bronze amulet glinting as she points at the Pleiades. They herald spring voyages, she tells Nikos, her voice steady. Navigators memorized dozens of stars, their arcs like hymns to Poseidon. The Great Bear's tail signaled northern routes. Sirius' rise meant summer's calm. You try counting them, but it's like tallying waves in a storm. Cleon, his olive wood staff, tapping watches Nikos with a half smile. The sky's a riddle, he says, and we're its poets. You chuckle, imagining a poet boasting he'd sail by moonlight alone until the clouds rolled in. The crew's quiet eyes on the horizon, where stars kiss the sea. Navigators timed the night, knowing each star's rhythm. Nikos recites their names. Orion, Altair, Vega, his voice shaky, but growing bold. Thalia nods her amulet, a faint glow. Good, she says. The stars are kin. You try it. Pick Sirius, guess its path. It's daunting, like reading a scroll in the dark. Picture tracing a star with your gaze. How does its light steady you? The ship glides, its hulls creaking, and you feel their trust in these celestial guides, a bond forged in nights like this. Suddenly, a cloud drifts across Orion, dimming its glow, and the crew stirs, and Nikos clutching his skystone tighter. Thalia's hum sharpens her hand on the tiller, firm steering by memory until the stars return. You're caught in the moment, stars fading. Yet the ship holds true, like the cedar, marvel you admired. Cleon's chanting a hymn of a navigator saved by a single star, his voice weaving courage. Sing it, he urges, and you hum your voice, a shy thread. You think back to Thalia's wave reading, how it paired with this skycraft. The stars reemerge brighter, like a promise. You settle back, the sea's song, wrapping you, trusting these sailors. Nikos' zeal, Thalia's wisdom to guide you closer to Atlantis, one star at a time. You're still swaying on that Bronze Age ship, The Mediterranean's waves, lapping at the cedar hulls their rhythm, a soothing hum beneath your sandals. The night air's warm, scented with salt, and a faint trace of myrtle, and the stars above glitter like scattered embers casting soft shadows on the deck. You hear a low murmur nearby. Thalia's steady voice, Cleon's gravelly reply, and turn to see Nikos, the young scribe sitting cross-legged beside the philosopher, his ink-stained fingers clutching a clay tablet as he listens wide-eyed. This is no idle moment. You're witnessing a lesson in Atlantean lore, where a boy learns the myths that might have shaped a lost civilization. You're about to dive into the training that turned dreamers into keepers of Atlantis' secrets, their minds honed to carry its story through time. Can you feel the weight of Nikos' task? Mainstream history notes that if Atlantis existed, its knowledge, like that of Minoan Crete, around 2000 BCE, was likely passed orally with scribes and priests, preserving tales through rigorous apprenticeships. You're watching Nikos, now his brow furrowed, as he repeats a hymn Cleon taught each verse, weaving a star's path to a fabled isle, perhaps Atlantis itself. Cleon's olive wood staff rests against the rail, its worn carvings glinting, and he nods, voice firm but kind. The gods speak through stories, he says, and you must carry their voice. You wince, recalling your own struggles with simpler lessons, perhaps memorizing a poem, not a city's fate. This is no mere recitation. It's a legacy etched in memory. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some tales claim Atlantean apprentices learned currents by floating in sacred pools blindfolded to feel the water's pulse. Nikos mutters about it now, his clay tablet trembling as he recalls his first try, shivering in a temple's basin. The water moved like a god's breath, he says, half laughing. Historians still argue whether this was ritual or skill. Could you really learn navigation by splashing blind? But it forged instinct, and those instincts might have sailed to Crete, so perhaps Nikos's soaked tunic held a secret. You're leaning closer, the ship's creak blending with Thalia's hymn, to Poseidon, her bronze amulet swaying as she steers. Cleon's teaching Nikos to see the stars as a tapestry, each constellation a thread of Atlantis' tale. Nikos stumbles on Orion's path, and Thalia glances over her hum, softening. Again, she says, her voice a gentle prod. He tries voice steadier, reciting a hymn that maps a route to Thera. You're impressed, but also awed. Your own memory falters at names, let alone cosmic sagas. Cleon points at a dolphin arcing nearby. It's splash bright. Its leap points to land, he says. You squint, wondering if you'd mistake it for a wave's jest. Picture holding Nikos' tablet. How does its clay weight feel? The ship rocks gently, and Nikos' hands shake, but he names Sirius correctly, earning Cleon's nod. Good boy. The sea's your scroll now. Training wasn't just stars. It was winds, tides, even the scent of olive. Blooms on a breeze. On shore, apprentices used shells to mimic constellations. A temple courtyard, their classroom. You picture it. Youth is gathered, Cleon's staff tapping rhythms, Nikos' tablet scratched with star shapes. You chuckle, imagining a poet's jest. Forget a star, and you'll sup with the deeps. But here, it's life or death. His lessons are the crew's guide to Atlantis' truth. The crew's quiet, watching Nikos with a mix of hope and pride. Thalia's hymn rises her amulet, a beacon, and you catch Nikos mimicking her, a shy echo. It's a fleeting bond, teacher and student, sea and sky. Suddenly, a tremor ripples through the hull, faint but sharp like a warning from Poseidon's realm. The crew tenses Thalia's hand steady on the tiller, but Nikos gasps, clutching his tablet. Cleon's voice cuts through, "Sing the stars, not the fear." Nikos does his voice, breaking but bold, and the tremor fades. You think back to the ship's lotus prow, its strength carrying you. The stars shine brighter, their light a promise, and you settle back, trusting Nikos' growing wisdom to lead you closer to Atlantis' veiled heart. You're still drifting on that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves whispering beneath the cedar hulls, their cadence a soft hymn in the warm myrtle-scented night. The stars overhead glow like sacred embers, their light weaving shadows across the deck, where Thalia's bronze amulet glints as she steers. You hear Cleon's low voice, rich with reverence, telling a tale of Poseidon's wrath, his olive wood staff tapping the rhythm of a lost city's pride. These aren't mere stories, they're the soul of Atlantis myths that fueled its grandeur and perhaps its fall. You're about to sink into the legends that might have shaped Atlantean hearts, their dreams of glory etched in divine warnings. Can you feel the weight of their god's gaze? Mainstream history suggests that if Atlantis existed, its myths like those of Minoan Crete, around 2000 BCE, centered on sea gods like Poseidon, with Plato's Timaeus describing Atlanteans as favored by the deity who birthed their island. You're leaning against the rail now, Cleon's tale painting Atlantis as a gift from Poseidon, its golden temples raised by his trident. Nikos' ink-stained fingers clutching his clay tablet, listens, wrapped his eyes wide, as Cleon recounts how the god's sons ruled only to anger him with hubris. You picture towering statues, waves lapping at their feet, a city too proud to heed the sea's warnings. Cleon's voice weaves a route to Thera, into the myth, a sailor's guide hidden in divine lore. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some legends claim Atlanteans saw comets as Poseidon's tears, omens of his displeasure. Nikos points skyward, now his clay tablet trembling, whispering, "Is that his sorrow?" as a faint streak glows. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or celestial navigation. Could a comet really warn of doom? Yet Plato says Atlantis sank in a night, so perhaps Nikos' comet carried a shard of truth. You're swaying with the ship, the sail's soft flap blending with Thalia's hymn, her bronze amulet swaying as she hums to Poseidon. "Myths are our anchor," she tells Nikos, who scratches a star shape on his tablet. You try recalling a story from your own life, perhaps a family tale, but it pales beside Poseidon's trident. Cleon shifts to a myth of Atlantis' first king Atlas, who sailed under Orion to conquer seas only to defy the gods. The crew's quiet Damon, the sunburnt sailor, nodding solemnly. You chuckle, imagining a poet's jest. Defy Poseidon and you'll sleep with the fish. Yet these myths were more compasses, warnings binding sailors to their fate. The crew's voices rise chanting a hymn's refrain, and you join in your hum, tentative but earnest. Nikos tries too, his voice a shy echo. But a sudden wave jolts the ship, and he stumbles, tablet nearly slipping. Thalia steadies him, her amulet glinting. "Sing stronger than the sea," she says, and he does, voice bolder. You're caught in their bond myth, and wave entwined a crew united by stories. Picture clutching Nikos' tablet. How does its scratched clay feel? The stars seem to pulse, as if Poseidon watches, urging you onward. Suddenly, the sea trembles, a deep rumble shaking the hull stronger than the tremor you felt before. The crew gasps Thalia's hymn, cutting off her hand gripping the tiller. Poseidon stirs. Cleon shouts, half joking, but his staff's tap falters. Waves surge, rocking the ship, and you cling to the rail, heart racing, as if Atlantis' fate looms near. Nikos' pale chants Orion's path, his voice a lifeline, and Thalia steers her amulet, a beacon. The quake subsides, but the air's heavy, the seas hum, darker. You're gripped by the myth's power, its warning of pride echoing in the waves, pushing you closer to Atlantis' lost shores, where gods and mortals clashed. You're still rocking on that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves lapping at the cedar hulls, their rhythm a steady hum beneath the warm salt-laced air, tinged with distant olive blooms. The stars above glimmer like polished bronze, their light glinting off the ship's lotus-carved prow. But your gaze is drawn to a small object in your hand, a bronze astrolabe. Its intricate rings, cool and heavy, etched with symbols that whisper of ancient seas. You're not just sailing, you're exploring the tools that might have guided Atlantean sailors, from star-measuring discs to wave-carved tablets, crafted to conquer the ocean's mysteries. Can you feel the weight of their ingenuity in your palm? Mainstream history suggests that if Atlantis existed, its sailors like Minoans around 2000 BCE used advanced tools with archaeological finds of bronze instruments in Crete, hinting at maritime mastery. You're turning the astrolabe now, its rings aligning with Sirius, a star you traced earlier to measure its height above the horizon. Thalia's nearby, her bronze amulet swaying as she shows Nikos how to read it, her voice soft. The stars speak through bronze. You trace the disk's etchings, imagining Atlanteans plotting routes to Thera or beyond. The rail beside you holds a clay tablet carved with wave patterns, a guide for currents. You chuckle, thinking a poet might call it a sea scribe, but lose its wisdom, and you're adrift. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some myths claim Atlanteans used tide stones, polished shells that hummed faintly when held near certain currents. Nikos is clutching one now, his ink-stained fingers trembling, his clay tablet tucked under his arm as he presses the shell to his ear. It sings, he whispers, eyes wide. Historians still argue whether this was myth or method. Could a shell really map the sea? But tales say they sailed unerring paths, so maybe Nikos's tide stone holds a whisper of truth. You're steadying the astrolabe, its weight grounding you as the ship sways. Cleon, his olive wood staff tapping points to a wicker basket lashed to the deck, filled with dried figs and bone pins. Tools are our eyes, he says, when stars hide. You picture Thalia, her hymn rising, using the astrolabe on a cloudy dawn to steer toward Crete. The wave-carved tablet beside you maps a current to Cyprus, its grooves like a poet's verse. You try tracing one, but your finger slips, and Damon, the sunburnt sailor, laughs. Follow that, and we'll beach in a siren's lap. His jest stings, but you grin, imagining your own missteps with a tool. The sea's calm, but clouds drift near, and Thalia's astrolabe becomes your guide. She aligns it with the Pleiades, its bronze ring steady, and the crew watches hushed. Nikos mimics her, his tide stone clutched tight, his tablet scratched with star notes. It's heavy, he says, and Thalia's hum softens. So's the sea's trust. You try it, angle the astrolabe, seek Orion's light. It's like chasing a hymn through mist. Picture the tide stone's smooth curve in your hand. How does its hum feel? The ship glides, and you notice other tools, a bone plumb line, its weight swaying, and a reed float trailing to gauge speed. These aren't just relics, they're Atlantis dialogue with the deep. Suddenly, a sharp jolt shakes the ship stronger than before, as if Poseidon's trident stirs the sea. Waves surge, and you grab the rail, heart pounding as the astrolabe nearly slips. Thalia's hymn cuts off her amulet, glinting as she steadies the tiller. Hold fast, she calls, and Nikos pale clutches his tide stone, chanting Sirius's path. Cleon's staff steadies him, his voice firm. The sea tests, but tools endure. The jolt fades, but the air's tense, a reminder of Atlantis's fabled end. You think back to the lotus prow's strength, its cedar heart unyielding. Cleon's chanting a hymn of a sailor saved by a star disk, his voice weaving hope. Sing it, he urges, and you hum your voice, a shy thread trusting these tools, Thalia's skill. Nikos' zeal to guide you closer to Atlantis' sunken truth. You're still clinging to that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves, surging beneath the cedar hulls, their once gentle hum, now a thunderous roar, as the sea churns with sudden fury. The air's thick with salt, and an ominous tang of earth. Your linen tunic soaked as dark clouds swallow the stars, blotting out the constellations you traced with Nikos. The sail thrashes wildly its linen fraying, and the deck shudders with a deep bone-rattling tremor, as if Poseidon himself stirs below. You're about to face an earthquake, a cataclysm that echoes the myths of Atlantis' doom, testing your courage and the ship's ancient strength. Can you hold fast as the sea and earth conspire against you? Mainstream history links the Atlantis myth to the Minoan collapse around 1600 BCE, likely triggered by the Santorini eruption, which caused earthquakes and tsunamis that devastated Crete. You're gripping the rail now, the ship lurching, as waves crash over the lotus-carved prow, soaking Thalia, who's braced at the tiller, her bronze amulet glinting defiantly. Steady, the ropes, she shouts her hymn, silenced by the wind's howl. Nikos, his ink-stained fingers, clutching his clay tablet ties, align with trembling hands, his tidestone swinging wildly. You're half convinced you're in a poet's tale of divine wrath, heart pounding as the deck tilts and water floods your sandals. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Atlantean myths claim sailors could hear earthquakes through the hull, a low hum warning of Poseidon's anger. Damon's trying it now, his sunburnt face pressed to the deck, muttering. The sea groans. Historians still argue whether this was instinct or folklore. Could wood really sing of ruin? But Crete's ruins bear quake scars. So maybe Damon's ear caught a flicker of truth. You're drenched, the ship bucking as another tremor shakes the sea waves, slamming the hull like a god's fist. Thalia's at the tiller, her amulet a beacon, as she steers into the swell, her voice sharp. Hold the mast, Nikos' pale helps Damon lash the sail, his tablet wedged under his arm. Cleon, his olive wood staff, braced against the deck, chants a hymn to Poseidon, his voice a lifeline in the chaos. The gods test us, he calls half-joking, but the crew's too frantic to smile. You grab a wicker basket sliding across the deck, your heart racing. Picture pressing your hand to the hull. How does the tremor's pulse feel? You're dizzy, but Thalia's focus anchors you, her hymn returning a faint thread against the storm. The crew's shouting now, a ragged plea to Poseidon, and you join in your voice, lost in the gale, but it's something to grasp. Thalia's steering by instinct, using the wave's rhythm, like the currents you felt with her, to keep the ship afloat. A crack of lightning splits the sky, and Nikos gasps, but Cleon's hand on his shoulder steadies him. Sing the stars, Cleon urges, and Nikos chants Orion's path, his voice breaking but fierce. You're caught in their defiance, the ship a fragile shield against a sea that could swallow Atlantis itself. The lotus prow, its strength you admired holds firm, its cedar unyielding as the waves try to tear it apart. Suddenly, a monstrous wave looms taller than the mast, and the crew braces you among them, gripping the rail as the ship climbs its crest. The world tilts water, flooding the deck, and you're sure it's over, Atlantis' fate reborn. But Thalia's tiller work saves you, the ship plunging down, the waves back, shuddering but whole. The quake's rumble fades, the sea's fury easing, and a single star, maybe Sirius, peeks through the clouds. Hope flickers fragile, but real. Cleon's hymn softens a prayer for mercy, and you think back to the astrolabe's steady rings, their precision a partner to Thalia's grit. The ship steadies the horizon clearing, and you settle back, heart still racing, carried by a crew whose courage outshines the Earth's wrath. Their saga now yours. You're still aboard that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves now calmer after the earthquake's wrath, their gentle lapping a fragile peace beneath the cedar hulls. The air's heavy with salt and a faint, unsettling scent of churned earth. Your linen tunic still damp as the dawn's first light softens the horizon. The stars are fading, but a lone gull's cry pierces the quiet, its wings flashing white against the sky streaked with pink. The crew stirs, Thalia pointing to a low cloud tinged with a golden hue, her bronze amulet glinting. Land's near, but so is danger. Ominous waves ripple, whispering of a flood that could mirror Atlantis' fate. You're about to learn how Atlanteans might have read nature's signs. Birds clouds the sea's pulse to find safety or face doom. Can you sense the tide's warning? Mainstream history ties the Atlantis myth to the Santorini eruption around 1600 BCE, which unleashed tsunamis that likely swamped Minoan Crete, suggesting Atlanteans, if real, used environmental cues to survive or foresee disaster. You're watching that gull now. Its steady flight north, a sign of land, perhaps an island like Thera within a day's sail. Thalia, her hymn returning, explains to Nikos gulls cling to shores. You're struck by the simplicity, recalling the Vikings' bird-watching you sailed through. But this feels heavier, laced with dread. The sea's hue shifts less sapphire, more murky green, hinting at stirred sediment, a flood's prelude. You lean over, half expecting a carved tablet to spell danger ahead. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some legends claim Atlanteans smelled sea fire sulfur from underwater vents as a warning of coming floods. Damon's sniffing the air now, his sunburnt face creased, muttering it's sharp like forge smoke. Historians still argue whether this was foresight or fancy. Could a whiff really signal ruin? But Minoan ports fell to waves, so maybe Damon's nose caught a spark of truth. You're scanning the horizon, the crew's murmurs rising as another gull joins, circling above. Cleon, his olive wood staff, steady nods. Flocks mean land's close, he says, voice low. Nikos, clutching his clay tablet, scribbles a gull's arc. His ink-stained fingers steady despite the tremor's echo. Is it safe? He asks, and Thalia's hum falters, her amulet still. Not yet, she says. You try spotting that golden cloud again. Its glow, like a temple's bronze, formed by warm land air rising. It's as if an island beckons, but the sea's restless ripples chill you. Picture cupping the air. Does it carry sulfur's sting? The crew's tense Damon, tossing a fig to a third gull, its cry sparking cautious hope. Atlanteans, if they sailed, watched bird patterns, lone flyers meant distant shores, flocks signaled harbors. You're struggling to keep up, like deciphering a hymn mid-verse. They also read wave echoes, like those you felt in the quake, seeking swells warped by submerged reefs. You lean against the rail, sensing the ship's sway, but it's more omen than guide. Thalia points to a reed clump bobbing nearby, its roots trailing. Land's upwind, she says, but her voice is tight, the sea's green hue darkening. Suddenly, a low swell rolls in, larger than before, lifting the ship with a groan. The crew freezes Nikos's tablet, nearly slipping, and you grip the rail, heart racing, as if Poseidon's flood looms. Cleon's chanting now a hymn of a sailor saved by gull's wings, his voice weaving hope against dread. Sing it, he urges, and you hum your voice, a shy thread. You think back to the astrolabe's bronze rings, their precision now a distant comfort. The sea's alive, whispering warnings, and you're reading it with Thalia's crew, Nikos's frantic notes, Damon's bold sniffs. The swell passes, but another follows, and Thalia's hymn sharpens her amulet, glinting as she steers away from the threat. The cloud's glow brightens, land's promise closer. And you settle back, the sea's hum uneasy, but guiding you toward Atlantis's fabled shores, one cautious breath at a time. You're still aboard that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves nudging you forward, their rhythm tense yet steady beneath the cedar hulls, as if wary of the ominous swells you glimpsed. The air's thick with salt, and a faint sulfur tang, your linen tunic clinging damply as the dawn's golden light sharpens the horizon's green smudge, an island perhaps, Thera, its cliffs looming. At the tiller stands Thalia, her bronze amulet glinting, her eyes fierce with resolve as she steers through waters that whisper of Atlantis's doom. She's no mere sailor. She's a priestess navigator, defying the tides and tradition to lead her people toward safety. You're about to sail with her, witnessing the strength of Atlantean women who might have guided a fabled city through its darkest hours. Can you feel the fire in her command? Mainstream history suggests that if Atlantis existed, women like Minoan priestesses around 2000 BCE held significant roles with frescoes from Crete, showing them leading rituals and possibly maritime endeavors. You're watching Thalia now, her linen robe snapping in the breeze, her hymn to Poseidon a steady pulse as she adjusts the sail with a deft hand. She's the crew's lodestar, her voice ringing clear. "Secure the oars, Damon." Her orders cut through the sea's uneasy hum, and even Cleon, leaning on his olive wood staff, nods in deference. You're awestruck, recalling your own stumbles with simple tasks, threading a needle, not taming a restless sea. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some myths claim Atlantean priestesses wove sea pearls into their hair, believing they channeled Poseidon's favor. Thalia's fingers brush her amulet, a pearl gleaming in its bronze setting. And Nikos, his ink-stained hands clutching his clay tablet, stares whispering. Does it calm the waves? Historians still argue whether this was ritual or morale. Could a pearl sway the sea? But Thalia's ship sails true, so maybe her pearl holds a flicker of divine luck. You're leaning closer, catching Thalia's calm commands to the crew. Women like her, in a world of warriors and scribes, often learned in temple shadows, studying stars and tides beside fathers or uncles. You picture Thalia as a girl, sneaking to moonlit lessons, memorizing Orion's path, while others prayed. Her amulet, a gift from a temple elder, sways as she points to a golden cloud like the one you spotted signaling land. "We're close," she says, and the crew trusts her. No hesitation. You try mimicking her gaze, squinting at a gull overhead, but it seems to mock your land-bound eyes. "Keep steady," Thalia tells you, her tone firm yet warm. Picture holding her pearl-etched amulet. How does its cool bronze feel? The ship sways, and Nikos, inspired, adjusts a rope, his tablet tucked under his arm. Thalia's training echoes the men's years of star hymns, wave reading, even that blindfolded pool ritual you chuckled at. But she's added her own gift. A sharper sense of tide shifts a knack for spotting fish schools that mark shallows. Damon, sunburnt and grinning, jests. Thalia's eyes find land before my nets find fish. The crew laughs, but her steady hand proves him right. You're seeing her not just as a navigator, but a beacon binding the crew like a temple's hearth, much like the ship-building rituals you imagined. Suddenly, a massive swell surges higher than the last, rocking the ship violently. The crew stumbles you among them, gripping the rail as water sprays the deck. Thalia's at the tiller. Her hymn now. A sharp command: brace the mast. Your heart races, the sea's threat mirroring Atlantis's fabled flood. Nikos, pale, clings to a rope, and Thalia's glance, fierce yet reassuring, holds him steady. Cleon's chanting, a hymn of a priestess who defied a deluge, his staff firm. Sing it, he urges, and you hum, your voice, a shy echo. You think back to the tide stone's hum, its warning, now Thalia's guide. The swell subsides, land's scent stronger, and you settle back, the ship secure, under her command, trusting her to lead you through Atlantis's shadowed fate, one bold stroke at a time. You're still gliding on that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves pulsing beneath the cedar hulls, their rhythm a cautious hum as the dawn's golden light bathes the nearing island's green cliffs. The air's alive with the scent of myrtle and salt, tinged with a faint sulfur whiff that lingers like a warning, and your linen tunic clings damply to your skin. The crew's voices buzz Damon's hearty laugh, Nikos's nervous murmur, as they unpack wicker baskets, their hands sorting olives and bronze pins for trade. You're approaching a bustling port, not just to rest, but to barter, weaving bonds that might have tied Atlantean shores to distant lands. You're about to dive into the vibrant trade networks that could have fueled Atlantis's glory. Their market's a heartbeat of a lost world. Can you feel the thrill of their commerce? Mainstream history suggests that if Atlantis existed, it mirrored Minoan Crete's trade networks around 2000 BCE, with archaeological finds like Egyptian scarabs and Cypriot pottery, tracing routes across the Mediterranean. You're watching the crew now, Damon, hefting a basket of olives, Thalia checking a bundle of saffron-dyed cloth, her bronze amulet glinting. They're prepping to trade at the port, perhaps swapping for tin or amber. You're tempted to offer your sodden tunic, but Nikos's shy grin, his ink-stained fingers clutching his clay tablet, says it's a poor bargain. These routes weren't random. Navigators like Thalia planned them using the star paths you traced to link markets over 1,000 miles. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Atlantean tales claim traders sealed deals with oath shells, polished conches, etched with symbols to honor Poseidon's trust. Cleon's showing Nikos one now, his olive wood staff tapping as he explains, break it and the sea claims your word. Historians still argue whether this was ceremony or contract. Did a shell bind a bargain? But it wove islands together, and you're not doubting sailors who traded with Egypt's pharaohs. You're leaning over, eyeing the cargo olives gleaming in oil rolls of linen-dyed crimson. Thalia's hymn softens her eyes, scanning the port's faint keys where torches flicker. Trade's our bridge, she tells Nikos, who scratches a shell's symbol on his tablet memorizing the goods. You picture docking at a stone pier, merchants chanting welcomes, eager for your saffron and stories. It's a sea-born bazaar pulsing with life. You chuckle thinking a poet might sing of your own trades, perhaps a swapped trinket for a friend's tale. But these were Atlantis' lifeblood spreading bronze and ideas. Picture holding an oath shell. How does its smooth curve feel? The crew's joking now, Damon mimicking a trader who bartered olives for a cracked amphora. Fool's deal, he roars, and Nikos laughs, his nerves easing. But the stakes are high. A poor trade could starve a season. Thalia's steady hand, the one that tamed the earthquake you survived, guides the ship toward the port. She points at a gull flock, like those you spotted signaling lands near. Cleon's chanting a hymn of a merchant who linked shores with gold, his voice weaving pride. Sing it, he urges, and you hum your voice, a shy thread, feeling the network's pulse. Ports, ships, clans bound by trust. Suddenly, A dark wave surges larger than the last, its crest frothing like a warning from Poseidon's depths. The crew tenses Damon's hand on a bronze dagger. Thalia's hymn cutting off. Storm or flood, she mutters, eyes narrowing. Your heart races, the seas calm, now a thin veil echoing Atlantis's fabled end. She steers sharply, signaling with a raised oar, and the wave passes, but another looms rocking the ship. Nikos, clutching his tablet, gasps, and Cleon's staff steadies him. Sing, the stars, Cleon shouts, and Nikos chants Sirius's path, his voice a lifeline. The port's keys sharpen torches blazing, and you settle back, the sea's threat fading, but its warning clear, urging you toward Atlantis's lost markets, where trade and fate entwine. You're still swaying on that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves lapping at the cedar hulls, their rhythm now a subdued murmur, as the dawn's golden light bathes the port's stone quays, now vivid with torchlight and bustling figures. The air carries the scent of myrtle smoke and a lingering sulfur tang, your linen tunic heavy with sea damp as a quiet weight settles over the crew. Their trade talk laughter has faded, replaced by hushed murmurs, Nikos' nervous whisper, Damon's low grunt as they stow baskets, sensing a loss that hangs like a half-forgotten hymn. You're about to drift through the fading of Atlantis' myth, as Greek scholars and time's tide buried its story in doubt, leaving only whispers of a sunken city. Can you feel the ache of a vanishing legacy? Mainstream history notes that after Plato's accounts in 360 BCE, Atlantis' tale was largely dismissed by Greek philosophers like Aristotle, who saw it as allegory, with later centuries further obscuring it as myth. You're picturing a bustling agora now. Athenian scribes with wax tablets scoffing at fabled islands, their quills erasing Atlantis' gleam. Navigators like Thalia, once revered, were overshadowed by new maps, and gods, their star hymns replaced by geometric charts. You feel the ship rock as if it mourns the shift. The trade networks you saw, olives and saffron linking shores, faded as empires like Rome rose, demanding gold, not bronze. You wince, imagining swapping Thalia's tidestone for a Roman coin. Not a fair trade, is it? Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Atlantean tales were hidden in temple hymns, sung in secret, to preserve their truth against skeptics' scorn. Cleon's voice drops now, telling Nikos of a priestess who whispered Atlantis' saga in a Cretan shrine, her olive wood staff hidden. The sea keeps its secrets, he murmurs, and Nikos' ink-stained fingers clutch his clay tablet, eyes fierce. Historians still argue whether these hymns saved anything. Could songs outlast doubt? But they kept a spark alive, and you're rooting for Cleon's defiance. You're staring at the port, its quays alive with merchants, but a shadow lingers, the loss of Atlantis' story. It wasn't just a city. It was a dream, tying sailors to stars and gods. Greek scholars favored logic teaching angles, not wave songs, and temples swapped Poseidon's trident for Athena's owl. You try humming Thalia's hymn, but it feels fragile, like a thread unraveling. Thalia's quieter, her bronze amulet still, while Nikos scratches a star on his tablet, as if to anchor the past. Cleon's staff taps slower, his voice heavy. The gods remember, he says, half joking. But you feel the sting of a world moving on. The crew's subdued Damon, tracing a shell's curve, maybe a prayer for lost shores. New empires ignored Atlantis, their ships too heavy to dance with the sea like your lotus-carved vessel. You grimace, picturing your ship, docked its sails fraying like a poet, silenced mid-verse. You think back to Thalia's steady hand, wondering if she faced scorn for her faith. The sea's still here, whispering its rhythms, and you lean back feeling its pulse, like Nikos did in his lessons. Suddenly, a foreign ship looms near the port, its angular sails stark, a Greek trireme bearing scrolls, not hymns. The crew tenses Damon's hand on his dagger, but Thalia steers calmly, her hymn returning a quiet rebellion. The moment passes, but it cuts a glimpse of a world where Atlantis fades to fable. Yet, there's hope in Nikos' star. Scratch Thalia's unwavering hum, Cleon's hidden hymns. You're caught in their resolve, a spark against time's tide. The port's bustle grows merchants, shouting torches, flaring, and you settle back the sea's song, a reminder that Atlantis' myth endures, buried in whispers and waves. You think of the oath shells from the market, their etched promises echoing Cleon's tales. Picture holding one. How does its cool weight feel? The ship nears the quay. The island's cliffs, a silent witness, and you carry Atlantis' fading light, trusting its story to linger like a star in the dawn. You're still gliding on that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves cradling the cedar hulls, their rhythm a gentle hum, as the dawn's golden light bathes the port's bustling quays, now alive with merchants and flickering torches. The air's rich with myrtle smoke, and a fading sulfur tang, your linen tunic drying in the warmth. But the ship feels different, its planks freshly polished, its sail rewoven with modern care. You're no longer in the mythic past. You're sailing with today's seekers, archaeologists, and dreamers, diving for Atlantis' traces, rebuilding its story from sea and stone. You're about to join this revival, where ancient whispers resurface, and the ocean hums of a lost city's truth. Can you feel the pulse of their quest? Mainstream history highlights modern searches for Atlantis, sparked by discoveries like Santorini's submerged caldera, excavated since the 1960s, which some link to the Minoan collapse around 1600 BCE. You're on a vessel now. Its cedar echoing the lotus-carved ship you rode, but with new ropes sealing its seams. The crew's a vibrant mix. An elder scholar, his staff carved with wave motifs, recites Plato's hymns. A young diver descendant of Thalia adjusts the sail, her bronze amulet gleaming, and a novice echoing Nikos fidgets with a clay shard etched with stars. You grin, feeling the buzz of a seaside symposium, this voyage a bridge to Atlantis' shadow. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some modern divers use echo shells, replicas of ancient conches, to test underwater acoustics for hidden ruins. The novice call her Irene clutches one now, her shard swinging as she presses it to her ear, murmuring. It hums like Cleon's hymns. Historians still argue whether this blends science or sentiment. Can a shell find a city? But when teams uncovered Akrotiri's frescoes, you're betting on the sea's whispers, not just sonar. You're swaying with the ship, watching Irene point at Orion, her voice steady despite her fidgeting, echoing Nikos' star chants. She's trained by scholars who studied Plato's Timaeus, like Cleon's tales of Poseidon's wrath you heard. You try mimicking her, squinting at the horizon, but a gull's cry, like those you spotted, signals lands near. The crew's chanting a reconstructed hymn, its verses guiding you to Santorini's caldera, and you join in your hum, a shy echo. Sing louder. The scholar urges, his staff tapping, and you do, feeling the sea's pulse. Picture holding Irene's clay shard. How do its etched stars feel? The revival's more than ships. It's a hearth rekindling Atlantis' dream. Teams excavate Thera's ash-buried homes. Scholars debate Minoan links, divers map sunken walls, much like the trade networks you saw. You picture dig sites alive with chatter students sketching frescoes instead of letting Atlantis fade as Greek skeptics did. The diver call her Lysandra hums Thalia's temple hymn, her amulet a twin to that priestess. It's healing mending time's rift. You think of Cleon's secret hymns, how they kept the spark alive. Now that spark's aflame. Museums display bronze tools, symposiums chant Plato, and youths like Irene dive. You chuckle, imagining a poet's jest. Miss a ruin, and you'll dig in a fish's belly. But here, it's passion, not peril. Suddenly, a rogue wave rocks the ship, its crest frothing, and Lysandra's quick hands steady the sail, her hymn unbroken. The crew cheers, Irene's shard glinting as she helps her nerves fading. You're caught in their zeal, the sea's rhythm syncing with theirs. The port's cliffs loom Santorini's caldera, a shadowed promise, and you spot land, a volcanic ridge under a dawn cloud, like Thalia's golden signs. This revival proves Atlantis' story, never drowned, just slept in hymns and the sea's depths. You think back to the astrolabe's rings, their precision now, Irene's guide. The dawn brightens the port alive, and you settle back awed by this rebirth, carried by stars, and a ship that sails through myth. You're still gliding on that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves, carrying you closer to Santorini's volcanic cliffs, their rugged outlines now sharp under a dawn sky painted in rose and gold. The air's warm, thick with myrtle, and a faint volcanic ash scent your linen tunic catching the breeze as the crew's voices hum with anticipation. Irene's eager whisper, Lysandra's steady hymn. You're not just sailing. You're wrestling with a question that has haunted poets and scholars for millennia. Was Atlantis real? A gleaming city lost to the sea? Or merely Plato's fable? A cautionary tale woven from air. You're about to dive into the debates, the clues and the silences surrounding Atlantis' existence, where myth and history blur like waves on a misty shore. Can you unravel the riddle of a vanished world? Mainstream history points to Plato's Timaeus and Critias around 360 BCE as the first accounts of Atlantis, a utopian island sunk by divine wrath, with some linking it to the Minoan collapse from Santorini's eruption around 1600 BCE. You're picturing those first Atlanteans, now sailors like Thalia, their ships laden with bronze and ambition chasing stars like Orion across uncharted seas. But when did they thrive? Plato claims 9,000 years before his time, yet Minoan Crete fell far later. You lean against the rail, the ship's rhythm soothing, and wonder how a city could vanish so completely. Picture steering by a star's faint glow. How vast is that unknown? Here's the quirky tidbit. Some legends say Atlanteans left wave marks, etched stones in the sea that guided ships to their lost isle. Irene's pointing at a bobbing rock, now her clay shard swinging, murmuring, "Is it theirs?" Historians still argue whether this was myth or marker. Could stones chart a sunken city? But Akrotiri's ruins hint at a seafaring power. So maybe Irene's rock holds a whisper of truth. You're scanning the horizon. Santorini's cliffs rising like a broken temple. Scholars debate the how-to-real catastrophe or allegory. Some see Atlantis and Thera's ash-buried towns destroyed by quakes and tsunamis, like the tremors you survived with Thalia. Others call it Plato's invention, a moral tale of hubris. You picture a philosopher in Athens' quill, scratching crafting a city to warn of pride. Lysandra, her amulet glinting, tells Irene Plato's words are a map, true or not. Irene nods, sketching a wave on her shard. You chuckle, imagining a poet's jest. Lose Atlantis, and you'll wander in scrolls. Yet the truth's elusive, a hymn half sung. The crew's quiet, the scholar tracing a wave motif on his staff, his voice low. evidence is slippery. Thera's frescoes. Cretan seals Plato's vague isle beyond the pillars of Hercules. Did Atlantis rule the seas, or was it a dream? You try piecing it together, but it's like mending a shattered amphora. The dawn's light feels knowing, a silent witness. Lysandra's hymn softens her hand steady on the sail, echoing Thalia's resolve. You think back to her cloud reading, her quake-defying hand. Could she have sailed Atlantis's seas? The sea's pulse syncs with your thoughts, and you wonder, trade like the networks you saw or ambition drove them. Suddenly, a dolphin leaps nearby. Its arc, catching dawn's glow, and the crew cheers, Irene's shard glinting as she claps. Poseidon's sign she cries, and the scholar nods, chanting a hymn of a city lost to waves. Sing it, he urges, and you hum your voice, a shy thread. The port's keys emerge, merchants waving, and you settle back, the riddle lingering like sea mist. Was it greed, as Plato warned, or nature's fury that sank Atlantis? The debate's dates, places, truths fade into the waves' hum, but the story's spark, carried by Nikos' zeal, and Lysandra's dives, burns bright, guiding you to shore. You're still aboard that Bronze Age ship, the Mediterranean's waves lapping gently at the cedar hulls, their rhythm a tender farewell as you glide toward Santorini's torchlit quays, now vibrant with merchants and the hum of dawn. The air's warm, rich with myrtle smoke, and a fading volcanic ash scent, wrapping you like a soft linen shawl, though your tunic still clings damply from the sea's trials. The crew's voices are hushed, reverent Irene's eager whisper, Lysandra's steady hymn, the scholar's low chant as they point to the shore, where cliffs rise like silent guardians. You're not just docking, you're weaving the threads of this journey, stars, quakes, myths, and souls into a tapestry of Atlantis's enduring mystery, its lessons shimmering like the sea under starlight. Can you carry its whispers into your dreams? Mainstream history frames Atlantis as a tale born in Plato's Timaeus and Critias around 360 BCE. A lost city of golden temples sunk by divine wrath, possibly echoing the Minoan collapse from Santorini's eruption around 1600 BCE. You're feeling the ship's cedar heart now, its lotus-carved prow, a mirror of the vessels you marveled at, built to chase a mythic horizon. Atlantis's legacy isn't just in its fabled ruins, perhaps Thera's ash-buried homes or Crete's shattered ports, but in the dreams it wove Thalia's star hymns, Nikos's ink-stained zeal, Cleon's wave-carved tales. You glance up, catching the last glint of Sirius, its light a nod to the paths you've sailed. This journey, from ancient seas to modern dives, is a hymn to curiosity, resilience, and the courage to seek what lies beyond the mist. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Mediterranean islanders still name their boats after Atlantean kings, like Atlas, believing they sail under Poseidon's luck. Lysandra touches her amulet, now a twin, to Thalia's murmuring, for the lost ones. Historians still argue whether this honors myth or memory does a name summon a sunken city. But as you near the quay, you're betting those names like Irene's clay. Shard tie the past to the present, a thread unsevered by time. You're leaning forward, the port's details unfolding, stone stalls piled with olives, children waving reed torches, their shouts like gulls' cries. This journey began under a starry sky, with you chasing Atlantis's myth, learning its celestial compass, Orion's arc guiding you as it did Thalia. You braved an earthquake, clinging to the ship, as Thalia's hymn defied Poseidon's wrath, and felt the sea's pulse with Nikos, his lessons a spark of wonder. Cleon's tales of divine hubris fueled your quest, while the astrolabe's bronze rings and gull's wings led you to this shore. You saw trade weave islands, Damon's bold bartering, and the myth fade under Greek doubt, only to rise again with Lysandra's dives and Irene's star sketches. Each moment, tremor, star, or hymn taught you to question, to seek truth in shadows, and to honor the stories that endure. The crew's packing now securing baskets of figs, their murmurs blending with Lysandra's hymn, a temple echo of Thalia's. Irene, less nervous, helps Damon, her shard steady, while the scholar's staff taps a final verse, his tale of Atlantis's waves fading into a prayer for safe harbor. "Sing it," he urges, and you hum, your voice bolder now, part of their chorus. You're struck by the Atlanteans' ambition, not just in temples, but in daring to sail beyond the known, a lesson as timeless as the sea. Picture holding Cleon's olive wood staff, its wave carvings worn. How does its weight anchor you? The port's alive merchants calling, and you're ready to step ashore, carrying Atlantis's mystery, a call to dream, to question, and to cherish the fragile beauty of what might be lost. These lessons linger curiosity like Nico's relentless notes, resilience like Thalia's quake-defying hand, connection like the trade bonds that knit shores. You think of your own life, the questions you've chased, the communities that hold you. Atlantis's story, real or fable, reminds us to seek truth, to honor the past, and to face the unknown with a poet's heart. The ship nudges the quay, its prow kissing stone, and you feel the shore's embrace, warm and solid, like a hymn's end. The waves hush their song, softening, and you breathe deeply, the air a promise of rest. The stars, now faded, leave their glow in your heart, guiding you into a quieter tide. As you step onto the quay, torches casting golden shadows, you linger, the ship's creak a final whisper. The sea stretches behind you, eternal and vast, its waves carrying Atlantis's spirit, Thalia's resolve, Nikos's wonder, Cleon's tales, Lysandra's quest. You're safe now. The port's bustle, a gentle hum, like a lullaby sung by ancient shores. Let the island's warmth cradle you, its scent of myrtle and salt, a soft veil, the stars' light. Poseidon's tides and the sea's endless hymn linger in your mind, a dream ready to unfold. Drift now, the world fading, your breath slowing with the waves' sigh. Rest in this harbor where myth and truth meet, and let Atlantis's mystery carry you into sleep's embrace, a saga of wonder and light. Thank you truly for joining me through every emotion, every turn, every moment of this journey. It's been an adventure, and I'm grateful to share it with you. As we close this tale, I wish you a peaceful evening. May you have a restful night, deep sleep, and dreams filled with wonder and light. Rest well, you've earned it. And when you're ready for the next story, I'll be here waiting to journey with you again. Before you go, if you love this tale, please leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what moved you, surprised you, or lingers with you long after the story ends. Until we meet again, good night, and see you in the next adventure.